Josie's friend to get here because they were scared to come in. Well, the parents were just dropping them off, and the kids are super shy.
So there's a couple of them since we're just pretty good.
Testing. Maybe y'all can't, oh, you can hear me now. You didn't know what I was asking. That's what it was. That's what it was. All right. So, let's review what we've covered so far this week. Who can tell me what we talked about on the first night of VBS? You're on the right track. Somebody want to help him? Been the shack. All right. Boy, you got the Meshach thing. You guys got Meshach down good.
Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego.
There you go. Exactly. What happened to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Over here. Right here. Nick. Yep. Yeah, thrown in the furnace. That's right. And did they burn up? No! Who saved them? An angel, yeah. God was with them, right? Yeah. And what about last night? What did we learn last night, Savannah? Who did we learn about? Esther. Was Esther good or bad? Good. She showed courage, didn't she? Who else did we learn about? Who else in the story? Bo. We have Esther. Want to help him out? Mordecai. Was Mordecai good or bad? He was good. Yeah. And who else? Well, you know, that's a good name for him. Hangman. Haman. Yeah. And was he good or bad? He was bad, wasn't he? Yeah. All right. Okay. So, I've got a question for you. You guys want to sing a song?
Yeah!
You want to stand up and sing a song? Okay. I'll give you a choice. Potato chip or Father Abraham? Who wants potato chip? Potato chip. Father Abraham. Okay. Father Abraham won on that one, I guess. All right, everybody stand up.
So let's all
Does anybody want to see our friends? What's our friend's name? There you go. We know him now, right? You excited? Okay. On the count of 3, let's holler Luke and Lily and see if they come out, all right? 1, 2, 5.
Luke and Lily.
All right. We have trouble following directions, I know. On the count of what? 3. All right. 1, 2, pizza! Oh. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Hey guys, hey everybody! Are you guys ready for the last night of VBS?
Well, guys, it's good to see you again. How was your last day at Ninja Warrior Camp?
It was amazing, as the first 2 days were, although I have to say, it wasn't as much fun as the last 2 days of VBS.
Oh, I agree. You know, I wasn't at Ninja Warrior Camp, but I can't imagine how it could be better than the last 2 days of VBS. So what did you guys do at Ninja Warrior Camp?
Well, of course we did something that was gonna make me sweat, and you guys all know that.
We know, Luke, we know. You have sweatophobia. Whatever. The fear of sweating, you tell us every day. Repeatedly.
Seriously though, Bo, I'd rather watch you sing and dance Baby Shark than play so hard that I sweat.
What?
No.
Baby Shark.
No.
Well, Luke, I've got something in store for you. I've got a surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
I'm scared.
Are you ready?
No.
No.
Baby shark a doo 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 doo, baby shark a doo 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 doo, baby shark a doo 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 doo, baby shark. Mama shark a doo 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 doo, mama shark a doo 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 doo, mama shark a doo 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 doo, mama shark. Daddy shark a doo 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 doo, daddy shark a doo 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 doo.
Okay, Bo. Cut it out. That's terrible. I mean, that's really bad.
So bad, I have to agree. At least with the shark head, we didn't have to see your face.
Very, very funny, guys. Okay. So tell us, what happened?
Well, Bo, Luke actually came to my rescue today.
Really? Luke? Now, how in the world that happened?
Well, we were going to fight each other with nunchucks and bow staffs today. Hi-ya!
Wow.
Don't worry, we had safety gear on. It was still intimidating, though, I have to admit. So, before we started, I wanted to have a prayer with my team. I wanted to ask God to keep us all safe from being injured during our competition.
Really? Well, that's a great example, Lily, for those other girls. So, how'd it go?
Well, one of the boys, his name was Disaster.
Wait, his name was Disaster for real?
Yes, for real. Disaster. Deezaster. Disaster.
Wow.
Yeah. So he saw me praying, and he interrupted and started making fun of me. He asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was praying to God. He said it was no use, that God didn't answer prayer. I didn't know what to do.
Oh, man.
But then Luke came over and told the bully to leave us alone.
Really? Luke, did you really do that?
I did.
Wow.
I didn't like the fact that he was picking on my friend, especially when he said God wasn't capable of helping. I mean, God can do anything, can he, kids?
Yes! Luke, you are correct. God can do anything, and no matter how big or small you are, He's able to help you, no matter what the occasion is.
You know, Bo, this whole thing reminded me of a story in the Bible. You know, about a boy who stood up to a bully?
You know, you are right, Lily. The Bible does tell us of such a story. And as a matter of fact, we're going to learn about that story tonight. You guys want to learn about that story? David and Goliath?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lily, we are all proud of your example in praying to God for help. And Luke, we're proud of you for showing the courage to stand up to that bully and stand up for our almighty God who can help us do anything. So, are you two ready to go to class also?
Oh, yeah. Sounds great.
All right. Well, kids, why don't you tell Luke and Lily bye? Maybe we'll see them later. Let's go to class.
Bye, kids.
Bye. Bye.
We'll see you guys later. Have fun.
Bye.
All right. Okay. Now remember, we've got our medals up here. We've got the participation medal, the class that grew the most, and the quiet medal. So when you go to Bible class, we're going to be loud, right? No. We're going to be quiet. All right. Okay. Again, we're going to start with the baby class, and we're going to exit to our classes. Tiptoe, tiptoe in God's house. Started in here. We've been blessed the last couple nights with our speakers over at Hackworth and Wayne Roberts, and we've got another great speaker tonight. We're blessed to have Tommy Haynes with us from the Central Church of Christ here in Moore. I just want to tell a little bit about him, and then Paul will lead us in a word of prayer. We'll turn it over to Tommy. Been married for 40 years. His wife Kathy, they have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. And she graduated in 1977 from Brown Trail School of Preaching. Okay. And he had some other further education there at Oklahoma Farmersville Church of Christ in Farmersville, Texas. Second Wallace Street Church of Christ in Santa, Texas. And then he's been 32 years there at Single Church of Christ, where he continues to preach today. So a lot of experience here. He's published articles in the Christian Bible Teacher magazine and Gospel Advocate. He's done over 100 gospel meetings and 30 lectureships, 8 stateside and 2 foreign campaigns, member of the Rotary International since 1981. Served as president there 5 times, and he's written several books. So, a lot of experience. We're really thankful to have you with us and looking forward to hearing your lessons. Paul, would you mind start us off with this?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together tonight and study your word. Father, we thank you for the participation we've had in PBS and the success. And Father, we ask that you be with all the teachers tonight, that they find clarity in their thoughts and their words. And Father, we pray that you be with the students, that they have open hearts and minds as we study your word together. Father, we thank you so much for your son Jesus and the blessings that he has that he's given us and the sacrifice he's made to get the opportunity of everlasting life. In him we pray.
Good evening. It's exciting to be here and to be a part of this class that we're going to have tonight. And got so many people as I look around that I've known for a long, long time. Some are visitors here, not members here, but some of you who are members here at Bridge Creek. And I hear nothing but great things about this church. And I've known Ernie and I've known each other the entire 32 years, I guess, that I've been at Central, and I've known some of the others since they were babies. And with Bo read all of that, I shouldn't have said all that because it makes me sound so old. And I am, and there's just nothing I can do about that. So anyway, we appreciate the invitation to be here, and what a great theme, what an exciting thing, and a fun thing in a lot of ways. To study the great, powerful believers that there are in the Bible, and really we could do probably a month and not run out of characters from the Bible. Some are lesser known, but I told Kathy whenever Bo sent me the email several months ago, I said, man, he pitched me a softball because who couldn't talk about David and David and Goliath especially. And if there was ever a Christian ninja warrior, even though David, of course, came before Christ, but truly he fits the bill of a ninja warrior. And if ever there was a person who put his courage into action, then it would be David. And so if you want to turn your Bibles to 1 Samuel 17, we'll actually be in 16 and 17, but we're not going to be in 16 for very long. We're going to try to end on time. Is that clock correct over there? Yes, it is. And we're going to try to end on time and get you out so you can get back to the refreshments and enjoy those. The definition of an engine. Now, I saw that there were two. One was very negative. It said an assassin who was hated because they were stealthy and they would sneak in and kill and leave quickly. Well, yes, and we've seen lots and lots of movies about ninjas that would do those kinds of things. But there's a secondary definition that fits very well when it comes to David, and that is a person who excels in a particular skill or activity. Well, that really fits David and fits David extremely well. I grew up admiring Audie Murphy. I'm from Texas originally. A friend of mine told me after I'd been at Central about 10 or 12 years, we don't care about Texas anymore. You don't need to talk about it. And when you're a Texan, you can't help but talk about it. And all that. I grew up admiring Audie Murphy. And he died, unfortunately, in a plane crash, and he was finally kind of getting his life back together at the time it happened. I was glad of that. He had been drinking heavily for many years and taking sleeping pills for many, many years, partially because of what we would call today PTSD. Audie Murphy, in a battle that was taking German soldiers for an hour all by himself. He was the most highly decorated Army soldier that we had in World War II. I saw a picture of him last night on the internet, and it had him with his Class A's on and all of his medals. His shirt barely could hold all the medals that he had won. He was a courageous man, and when we think of people like that, we would probably think of David pretty quickly. Because if there was a man other than his best friend, they were really very similar. But we don't know much about Jonathan. The Bible only tells us a scant amount about Jonathan. But Jonathan did fantastic and brave things as well. But we do know a great deal about David. If ever God had a servant who fit the description of a ninja warrior, it was the great man David, especially his defining moment against Goliath. This is where he cut his teeth, as far as that is concerned, in battle and in courage, that impressed so many people in Israel. And it was a good thing. God had already selected him as the next king of Israel. Now, he would not be on the throne for more than 20 years. It would be a long time before he would assume the throne of Israel. And even at that, some would not follow him. So he had to reign over part of Israel in Hebron for 7 years. And then finally, he was able to unite Israel under his command, under his kingship for 33 years in Jerusalem. And but David was a very courageous man. And his battle against Goliath proves that for us. David is the epitome of courage in action. So let's study this thrilling account in 1 Samuel 17 and see what we can learn about the courage of David. First of all, let's look at the enemy. You know, if you're going to be courageous, usually that has to do with confronting something. And in this case, David was confronting Goliath. What about Goliath? Many believe he was a mercenary. He was from Gath, and that was not necessarily considered the heart of Philistia. And so many believe that they had contracted with several giants who would come and would fight with them and for them. That was not uncommon in that day and time. You know that Israel, on numerous occasions, and God always got mad at them when they did this, would go out and would seek the help of somebody else, like Syria, or they would go out and seek the help of Egypt. And these had actually been their enemies, and so that's not very smart, and usually they got in trouble for doing that. Well, Philistia went out and solicited the help of a band of giants. We know of two groups in the Old Testament that were considered giants, and those were the people of Anath, with a PH, and Anak. And these were a whole family of giants. And you might think, well, that's kind of far-fetched, but it's really not. The Maasai tribe in Africa to this day averages 7 feet tall. That's how tall their men are. I don't really know how tall their women are, but their men average 7 feet. And so we would consider that a family or a tribe of giants. Well, there were at least 2 tribes of giants in ancient Israel, or in that area in Palestine. So we got Goliath. Goliath is considered to be 9 feet and 6 inches tall. And that is only if you take the 18-inch cubit. If it's the 24-inch cubit, and we really can't know. The 18-inch was much more common, but the 24-inch cubit was also used. Then you're talking about a guy that's 12 foot tall. Can you even imagine? The NBA would be over if you had a 12-foot guy playing, because he could block the entire goal, and he could just sit there and drop the ball in every time he wanted to. And who's going to block him? Who's going to stop him? And so even a 9'6" guy would be devastating. And so we're dealing with a fellow that's that tall. Goliath, as we begin looking at this chapter, had held off Israel for 40 days, according to verse 16 of our text this evening. The shekels. By the way, that's 125 pounds. Can you imagine wearing a coat, and basically they're talking about a coat of mail. So that chain mail weighing 125 pounds. But if you're 9'6", you can hold up 125 pounds. Also, his spearhead weighed 600 shekels. That's verse 7. That's 151 pounds. Now, do you think he could do some damage with a spear that he could throw that had a 151-pound head on it? It wouldn't even have to be sharp. If that thing hits you, you're dead. It's going to break in half. But if it's sharp, can you imagine? He could probably pierce through several soldiers all at one time. It wouldn't matter what kind of armor you wore. It was going to penetrate, and you were going to die. So here we have the situation of this valley that they have. This valley is southwest of Jerusalem by somewhere in the neighborhood of about 28, 30 miles. But that tells you how close they were getting to Jerusalem, that Philistia was getting to Jerusalem. And so they're kind of making their last stand, as it were. And so here's the army of Israel, probably on the north ridge of this valley. And then here's the army of the Philistines on the south ridge of this valley that they were fighting on. And so out comes this great big giant man wearing this huge coat of mail, holding this gigantic spear, and more than likely had a sword. He had a shield bearer in front of him, and he began to shout, verse 8 says, to the ranks of Israel, "Why have you come out to draw up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us." And the Philistine said, "I defy the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together." And when Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. This is found in verse 11 as far as their fear is concerned. And this is also the enemy. It's not just the man that they're fighting. They're fighting their own fears. And none of them are overcoming their fears. They're just cowering back here on this ridge. Nobody's going down. Nobody's trying to answer Goliath. Nobody's ready to fight against Goliath. Now, it's considered dishonorable to go down with a group and fight this man because the challenge had been made one-on-one. And so you don't fight that. You are honorable, and you're supposed to only send down one fighter to fight against him. This was not uncommon. If you've watched some of the recent day movies about ancient battles in that day and time, this was not an uncommon thing, that they would make sort of a game out of it. And so we're going to send out our biggest guy, our best guy, and you send out your best guy, and we'll be yours. We'll be your slave if our guy gets killed. And so that was pretty typical of that day and time. Look over at verse 24 with me as well. All the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were much afraid. So they would apparently ease out there, thinking that somebody was going to fight him. But then when he would make this challenge, which he made for 40 days, they'd all run back. And so you can imagine the disrespect that the Philistines had for Israel at this point in time. Philistines are scary people. You go back to the 4th through 7th chapters. This is the period of time in which Israel decided to do something that they were not allowed to do. They were going to have to fight the Philistines. They didn't follow them on other occasions, but they were going to fight them. This was during the time of Eli. And so they go to the tabernacle, and they take the ark out of the tabernacle. Now, you and I both know the Bible has very stringent rules about the Ark Did you ever find a four-leaf clover when you were a kid? And of course, St. Patrick's Day, your teachers would tell you the stories of St. Patrick and the luck of the shamrock and all that. And if you ever found one, because most of them are only 3 petals, but you'll find a free every once in a while. And boy, pick it and go show it to your mom. Oh, I'm going to have good luck today. What did it give you good luck? No, you just have some green stuff in your hands, and it doesn't mean anything. And but that's what these guys thought. We'll get the ark, and we'll go out there and we'll beat them. When they brought the Ark of the Covenant into the camp of the Israelites, their yell, apparently sort of like a battle cry, battle yell, was so loud and so ferocious that the Philistines were apparently peering over another ridge, apparently preparing for battle the next day. And it said that when they heard this, they were all afraid. But guess what they're saying? Oh, their God must be with them, so let's go down and fight. I call these guys the Klingons of that period of time. They thought that it was very honorable to die in battle. So they weren't scared. They were scared because of the yell, but then they just decided, well, tomorrow will be a good day to die, so let's go down there and beat those guys. And they went down, they defeated Israel, killed 30,000 men, took the Ark of the Covenant, and took it back with them. Now, they got rid of it pretty fast, because you remember the story, took it into Dagon's temple. Dagon falls down. The next morning, they stand it back up. They go into Dagon's temple the next day. He has not only fallen down, but his head, his hands, and his feet are broken off of that idol. And so they decided, and then they all got sick. In fact, literally, they got bubonic plague is what they got. The term that is used, the King James always confused me, said they got hemorrhoids. Well, that's bad enough. But the word there is bubos. It's not hemorrhoid. And bubos is the groin swelling that happens when you get bubonic plague. That's why they made rats, golden rats, and put them on the cart that they sent back with Ark of the Covenant. Because that's what represented. You remember, rats carry bubonic plague because the fleas bite them and then bite you, and you get sick because of it. And so they sent it back because they were afraid of it. But these guys are tough. And can you imagine? You've got an army of the toughest, some of the toughest men that you have ever imagined sitting on this ridge. And here comes down a 9'6" Philistine, and he's challenging you. So they're afraid. That's one of the enemies that they're going to have to fight. So Israel needs a hero. That is why men brought David to Saul. When they heard what David had to say about all of this, they brought him to Saul. And it says in verse 31, when the words that David spoke were heard, they repeated them before Saul, and he sent for him. Saul thought, you know what, if there's a man out there that believes he can beat this guy, then I need to beat him. He wasn't familiar with this soldier. Now that's kind of confusing, because at the end of the chapter 6 says that it was David that would be brought to Saul when he was troubled, because God had given him a troubling spirit. And he would play the harp, and it would calm Saul down. Well, I don't know if Saul just never asked who this kid was or what the situation was. The Bible says he called for David. But it may have been that he forgot him. Maybe David was only 14 or 15 when that happened, and now he may be 19. By the way, people picture David as what? The Lord. In fact, I used to lead in our VBS. Just a little boy named David. Just a bad one. But that may be misleading. David only had to be 19 to not be at the battle line. If you grew up in Israel, you fought at age 20. In fact, if you were age 20 and you married, they would let you off for one more year, because you were supposed to go home. And the Bible says, cheer up your wife. I guess cheer her up, because you're going to have to go to the army. And you're going to be gone the next year. But anyway, they give him a year off, and then he still had to serve. old as 19. We don't really know. I doubt that he's a itty bitty boy. I really do. Now, the story seems better if he's little, but that may not be the case. And given as David later on in life is such a ferocious fighter, tremendous warrior, tremendous leader of men, I don't think we're dealing with a little boy. I think we're dealing with a budding young man who is full of faith and full of strength because of what God has given to him. So now if we looked at the enemy, let's think about the ninja tonight. And the ninja is David. Remember that the definition has to do with skill and action. So let's look at those two things tonight. When we look at David, we again think about his age. He may have been an older teenager, just as long as he was under the age of 20. Numbers 1 and verse 3 tells us about that. His preparation or his skills, his development of skills. Where did David's courage originate? And that's what we're talking about tonight. Number 1, he had a great heart. Let's do some reading tonight. Somebody get 1 Samuel 16:7 for me and read that as soon as you get there.
1 Samuel 16:7.
Yes, sir.
But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance, nor on the height of his stature. His eye have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance. The Lord looks on the heart.
All right. God had caused, or Samuel had asked for Jesse to bring all of his sons before him. And so that means Eliab, who is the oldest, Abinadab, who is the second oldest, and Shammah, who were old enough to go to battle, came across first. Okay? We don't know how many years before this, chapter 16 is. There's no accounting there. So we can't know that. But whatever the case is, even if Jesse and his wife had babies 1 year after another, David is, he's 7 years down the line from the rest of them. And so all of them passed by, but David's out keeping sheep. And so, and Jesse thought, well, he's not going to want to see David. Surely Samuel's not going to select David for whatever challenge it is he's fixing to lay before him. But after the others went by, he said, no, haven't accepted them. Quit looking at their stature. Apparently Jesse raised some pretty striking boys. They were big, tough, strong guys, apparently. And, Samuel kept saying, oh, that's bound to be the one. No, I'm not choosing God to tell him. So finally, Jesse goes and gets David, and David kind of says, that's the one. That's the one I want. God looked in here. I didn't play a lot of sports in high school, but played enough to be around great athletes. I was not good, okay? But I saw some great athletes. We had a running back. That guy was built like nobody I've ever seen. His thighs were this big around. And he could lift virtually any weight we could put on our weight machine that we had. Guys, we're talking the early 70s, and so we're not talking about modern machinery. But we would put extra weight, and sometimes we would get a cheerleader to come and stand on the weights, and he could lift her and all of the weights with his legs. That's how big this guy was. We would hand him the ball, and if the line had not opened the hole for him, he could get through the hole anyway, because he was going to knock down 2 or 3 guys when he would hit the line. And it was just hard to bring him down. But he didn't have a great heart. He would make 3 touchdowns in the first half. That was we could just bank on it. 3 touchdowns. We were going to be ahead. 21, and if our defense did their job, to nothing at first half. And guess what would happen in the second half? He would go out, he'd make the first run, and he'd lay on the ground and roll around, and, oh, Coach, I'm hurt, oh, my knee, or whatever. I pulled a hamstring, or whatever, because he was lazy. And we had to really fight hard to keep that 21 lead on that team, because he wasn't going to play for us anymore. That's not much hard. David had heart. And in fact, notice something about chapter 17. Nothing is said about his stature. Not one thing. My boys didn't grow until they were past 18. That was kind of the way I was. When I graduated graduated high school, I was 5'7" and weighed maybe a buck 45. In 4 months, I came back to my high school homecoming. I was 5, almost 11. I never got to 6 foot. I wanted to badly. But I was about 5'11", and I weighed about 165. Nobody knew who I was when I walked onto the campus. I didn't look anything like I used to. My boys were that way too. It kept growing until they were about 21. And it may be that David was sort of like that too. But it wasn't his stature. God looked on the heart. And that is what is so powerful about David. He had a great heart. He also had a calming effect on wicked kings. Somebody read verse 23 for us in chapter 16. That's the one I was talking about a while ago.
Whenever the Spirit from God came on Saul, they would think up his lair and play. Then the lead would come to Saul. He would feel better than the evil spirit would be.
Okay? David not only has a great heart, he's talented to the nth degree. Not only is he going to become a tremendous warrior, he can play music. Can you imagine that? This is a multi-talented guy. And he calms down old Saul when he feels bad. And then David also was trained and prepared by raising and protecting sheep. I need somebody to read chapter 17 and verses 34 through 36.
David said to Saul, "Your servant was tending his father's sheep, and a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock. I went on after him and attacked him and rescued it from his mouth. And when he rose up against me, I seized him by his beard and struck him and killed him. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, since he has taunted the armies of the living God."
I went online and did some research today about animal life in Palestine. Today, there are no longer any brown bears. There's a Syrian brown bear that inhabited Palestine for centuries. But they finally died out, they said, late in the 20th century, so somewhere in the 1980s or 90s or somewhere in there, the last brown bear in Palestine died. Part of that is because the region has changed drastically. There are still green areas, especially around Jordan, but much of it has turned into desert. That's not much of a habitat for bears. As far as lions are concerned, I figured that this was probably a mountain lion, because mountain lions can stay in a much less dense forest area. But no, there were actually Asian lions all over Palestine in ancient times, and there still are a few. But because the area has been so heavily settled, there aren't many anymore, because there aren't many wild areas anymore in Palestine. So we are probably talking about the type of lion you and I think of when we think of lions. We're talking about a lion, now not an African lion, but an Asian lion, and they are just slightly smaller than an African lion. And David was able to defeat both a lion and a bear. Now, that's just shocking to me. When did David stop, look at a bear picking up one of the lambs, fixing to crush it, tear it apart, and decide, I can beat that thing? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be running and letting him have all the sheep he wants. Okay? Letting him get full because I want him to eat sheep and not human. And then a lion, of all things. Kathy and I have watched that show on the Animal Planet, I Was Afraid. And almost 9 times out of 10, the two things that they were afraid to was a shark and a bear. Okay? They have one story about somebody got bitten by a bear and somebody that got bit by a shark. But, you know, these aren't things I'm just going to say, I can beat that. But David loved his sheep, and he took his job seriously. And he wasn't about to lose the sheep to these animals. Now, had God told David, somewhere in his life, David, you can defeat anything you want, I don't know. The Bible never tells us that he did. But David's greatest talent that he had, his greatest preparation, was the faith in his heart. And that really shows up in numerous places in the Bible. Because fight for God. So God's going to defeat Goliath. Because David was just convinced this is God's will. This is what God wants. And David's not talking about his ability. David's not talking about, well, I'm big enough, and I'm faster than he is, and I can fight my way through that armor bearer. I can beat him, and then I can kill Goliath when I go. He's not talking tactics. Not at all. He talks no tactics anywhere in this text. There's just not any there. David is going on faith. Now he's got talent. He knows how to sling a rock with a sling. He knows how to do that. By the way, did anybody tell me why he chose 5 stones? Anybody got a guess? Think he was planning on missing 4 times? Or that he needed to hit Goliath more than once? You're exactly right. 2 Samuel tells us he had 4 brothers. David probably had looked over that ridge and saw that Goliath wasn't the only giant around, and decided, if I kill him, it's sort of like the Old West. You know, you kill my brother, I'm going to kill you. And he thought, I'm going to have to fight my way not only through Goliath, I'm going to have to kill those 4 brothers as well. And he had so much confidence, he didn't grab 20 or 30 rocks and put in his sack. He got 5 smooth stones out of string. And also, he comes down to do that. So he's already exited the safety of the crowd. And he comes down to the stream. In fact, I've looked up, you can look online and see that valley, the valley of Succo, I think is what it's called. And that stream is sort of out in the middle of it. So he leaves the crowd, he leaves the safety of his brothers and Saul and Jonathan and all of them. And he comes down that stream and starts picking up rocks. And can you imagine what Goliath's thinking about this time? This is insane. This boy, now, David could have been over 6 foot tall. A 9'6" guy doesn't care. Okay, that's a boy. And he looked young. Doesn't matter if he's 19. He's not dressed like the rest of them. He has no armor on. And by the way, why did he not wear the armor? Was it because he was so little he couldn't wear it? That's what we always think. It had been tested. It was just because it didn't fit him. It had not been fitted in. Every coat of armor that warriors wore was custom fit. And even if they got a guy almost identical to the size of David, all of us, our waistlines are different, and you know how big we are in the middle is different. I doubt that David was built like me. But you know, you're different around the middle, your thighs are different, everything is different. And he hadn't tested it, and when he walked around in it, it just didn't feel right to him. So here's this kid. And he's not dressed in armor. And he's got a pouch and a sling. And he comes down and he begins to talk about this situation. Look at beginning in verse 25. The men of Israel said, have you seen this man who's come up? Surely he has come to defy Israel. And the king will enrich the man who kills him with great riches and give him his daughter and make his father's house free in Israel. And David said to the men who stood by him, what shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach of Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? David is insulted and angry. Good kind of anger, righteous indignation. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that comes down here? And the people answered him in the same way, so shall it be done to the man who kills him. Now, Eliab, his brother, his eldest brother, heard what he spoke to the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David. Well, you can imagine, these boys are probably all fairly close in age. This is the oldest, don't know how old he was. Let's say he's 25, 26. Here David is 18 or 19. Here's this little snot-nosed boy who's never fought in a battle ever in his life. doubt that his father had few sheep. I imagine he had hundreds and hundreds. I know your presumption and the evil of your heart. Well, how? How do you know this? What is he thinking about that? He's just insulting his brother because he's his little brother. Here's my little brother coming up here and showing us up by saying he wants to go down and fight this Philistine. We haven't done it. Why should he? And so he's angry with his brother. And he said, you've come to see the battle. And David said, what have I done now? What was it not but a word? He's talking about the things that he had spoke. I kind of prefer, I believe it's the New King James that says this, but he says, is there not a cause? And that can be one of the translations of this phrase. This phrase is very difficult. But he is basically saying, I'm saying words that are correct for what we ought to be feeling and thinking. This guy needs to be beaten. And so David wanted to go and do it. When the words that David spoke were heard, they repeated them before Saul, verse 31. He sent for him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, you're not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth. And he has been a man of war from his youth. So Goliath's well-trained. He's fought in a lot of battles. He's older. And Saul's worried about David. But David said to Saul, your servant used to keep the sheep. And we've already read that text. I've defeated a lion and a bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of those. And so Saul told David, go and the Lord be with you. He tested the equipment, verse 39, it didn't work. So he took his staff, verse 40, in his hand. He chose 5 smooth stones from the brook, and he put them in his shepherd's pouch, and his sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. And boy, they have a discourse, a fantastic discourse. Philistine moved forward. He came near to David with his shield bearer in front of him. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, now they're close enough to where he knows who this is that's confronting him. He disdained him, for he was but a youth. Ruddy, that means he was red-headed, red-complected, ruddy, and handsome in appearance. And the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air, to the beasts of the field. Then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with the sword and with the spear and with the javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. There's that faith. That's the greatest training that he had. I don't know if he got it from Jesse. I don't know if he got it from Samuel. He got it from somewhere. We know he got it from God. And his heart's full of faith. And he's not afraid of this great big giant Philistine. And so this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, he says in verse 46. And I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air, to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Those guys behind him on the hill, they don't really know that there's a God in Israel, because otherwise they would have already gone down there and fought. And they hadn't. They gave up. They gave in. They were afraid. As soon as, I'm reading the wrong place, verse 50. So David prevailed, back up, 48. When the Philistine arose and came near, drew near to David, David ran quickly toward the battle line. He's not kind of fidgeting and dodging to see what this Philistine's going to do. He's running. The guys, I'm going to tell you something. That would probably throw you off. If you're a great big giant used to killing anybody that came at you, because he's not dead. Goliath's won every battle he's ever fought. And here comes this kid running straight at you. That would probably throw me off my game. And it apparently did. And David takes that stone and puts it right in his forehead. Now, apparently that did not kill him, but he falls. That hurts him badly. It's going to damage his brain. And there's probably massive internal hemorrhaging. And then he runs up. What happened to the army there? We don't know. He might have run off. He might have decided, hey, this kid knows what he's doing. and I'm next. And so he may have dropped that great big shield and run. I don't know. Or David may have killed him, one or the other. And then he takes Goliath's sword and cuts off his head. Very quickly, because we're out of time. We need to learn something from this. And I think that there is a great deal that we can learn from this. So I'm going to run through just 5 things very quickly with you tonight as we close. How can we be like David? Number one, understand courage is not the absence of fear, but the control of it. Do you think David had no fear at all? He just controlled it. And he trusted God. And it may have been that David had the idea of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. If God wants us burned up, then we'll burn up. But God is still in heaven. What an amazing statement. Daniel didn't curse God when they threw him in the lion's den. He just stayed in there all night long. God shut the lion's mouths, and when Darius comes the next morning, has your God been able to save you? Daniel says, I'm alive. I'm here. But if the lions had eaten Daniel, do you think Daniel would have lost his faith? No. Daniel would have just decided, God's ready for me to go home. David, I just about imagine, had exactly the same idea. This giant may just absolutely crush me. But I'm going to represent my God, and I'm going to stop this giant. And you and I need to overcome our fears as well. Paul said in 2 Timothy 1:7, I have not given you the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. We need to be using all 3 of those things in our lives every day. And quit being afraid. Quit being afraid to talk about God. We're living in a world that doesn't like that. And there are people running around saying, oh, I'm spiritual. But you look at their lives and they're living like dogs. What do you mean you're spiritual? Well, I feel spiritual here. It doesn't matter. Do you feel this kind of spirit? Do you feel what God is talking about? If you don't, I'm sorry, friends, you're not spiritual. Let God define spirit and learn what that's all about. Read Romans 8 to see if that's what's in you. And if it's not, you're not spiritual. And so we need to quit being afraid to tell the world about God and about Jesus and about who came to save them and how he came to save them and his great love. Secondly, train hard and discover your talents. Not everybody has the same talent. We had a young boy in Central. He would do anything. And he's going to become a gospel preacher. And he would do anything. But for some reason, the guys running our young men's night had him lead singing all the time. This kid couldn't carry a tune bucket. I worked with him one day and I said, okay, here's the starting note, the beginning note, key. And I go, I said, okay, hum that note. He, no, let's do it again. He, I figured out he's tone deaf. Absolutely tone deaf. I said, songwriting is not your job. That's not your talent. Found out preaching is his talent. He's really, really good at it and doing a good job with it. And so we need to train hard, discover what our talents are. When we find that we can't do something, quit trying to do it. You know? If you're no good at it, don't do it anymore. Now, I say that, but I play golf, and as all of you know, you're not ever going to be consistent in golf, but I still try. But anyway, but I'm not on the tour, and I'm not trying to be on the tour, okay? Thirdly, don't listen to the naysayers. David's brothers were naysayers. Saul was a naysayer. Goliath was a naysayer. David didn't listen to anyone. He knew God. He knew what God had done. He had a track record with him, killing a bear and a lion, and he trusted that God would do the same thing with this giant, and he did. Fourthly, our courage can infect those around us. What did Israel do after David dropped Goliath? They come down out of those mountains? Yeah. And they started pursuing the Philistines. And they beat them badly, killed thousands of them. Because David led the way. Somebody's got to step out. And it needs to be. We need to step out and do our job. Finally, be overprotective David had 5 sons. He thought, I may need those other 4. He was confident. I think he did. I'm going to kill him with this one son. I can do that. And he did. But I need to be ready if those other 4 giants come down out of those hills. And they don't, I kind of wonder about something. A lot of Philistines died that day. His 4 brothers didn't. They ran. And they ran fast. And they ran hard. And they got away. And they get killed in 2 Samuel. They were still alive here. And so David was over-prepared. He was ready for those other 4 brothers. 2 Samuel 21:16 through 22 tells us about those. So tonight, we need to learn from David. There are giants that are facing us today. Our society doesn't care anything about Christ. Our society thinks that we are a stick in the mud because we don't drink, we don't dance, we don't cuss, we don't just do whatever we feel like doing. We live a disciplined life. We live a good life that benefits others. There are a lot of people who don't care anything about that. But we can lead the way. If we can defeat the sin in our own lives, we can help others defeat the sin in their lives. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's have a word of prayer. Gracious God, loving Father, we thank you for being with us this evening. We thank you for this great church, for these good adults, and for their hard work with BBS and bringing children, and Father, for building forward. And we pray that there would be a lingering effect after this study this week. Father, we thank you for men like David who represented you so well, and Father, who fought so bravely. And Father, help us to overcome our fears and to use that to become courageous and do the things that you want us to do. Bless us as we go to refresh ourselves with the food that has been prepared, and watch over each and every one of these families as they go home to take home the great lessons from your word. We say, pray in Jesus' name. Thank you all so much.